There we go. So I could do this. This is very interesting. Let's see how this goes. If I go this way, we'll post in some groups. We'll see if we get some action. Okay, but I really don't want to do that. I want to invite. I should put my glasses on. Yes, that's better. Okay, so I'm going to invite a few people. How you all doing? I'm going to talk about forgiveness tonight. The variances of forgiveness. It's a great topic. It might trigger some people, but I don't want anybody to look at this as a trigger. I think we need to move away from that terminology. If somebody is affected by this, let's look at it as a way of discussing our feelings and coming to some solutions that will genuinely help us. Forgiveness, it's a topic that has variances. But what happens is in forgiveness, we are taught that you must forgive in one way. And I pondered that and I played with that a lifetime. Because let's face it, there is always someone in our life that we need to forgive, or maybe they have to forgive us. Let's not forget that it works two ways. So I'm just inviting a few people. Just stay with me a little bit as I do this. We are Facebook censored, and being Facebook censored, that gives us a condensed freedom, so to speak. Okay. We're going to roll with this. However it rolls, it rolls. How you all doing? Breathe these next few days. Take into consideration that the energies and the solar flares and all the planetary movement is affecting people. So as it affects people, we want you to be aware that we can overcome what happens when we get anxiety. I had a nervous tummy today. Okay, so how are you? You want me to put the gun in the holster, so to speak? Triggers? I don't want to trigger anybody. I think we need to look at forgiveness and what happens in this process in ways that are non-conventional. Because let's face it, everyone has somebody that they need to forgive, or we also have to realize that people are forgiving us. And that's a hard thing to do, right? Because we always want to think that we are in the position that it's us that has to forgive. So we're going to get down to a few basics. I am about the higher collective consciousness. I am a warrior, an authentic warrior that stands up for humanity. I speak from my own experience. As I speak from my own experience, I am able to clearly articulate what happened to me in transformation. And I am about extending. But I also deal with the hard topics because humanity as a whole is affected, and we're part of that. So I don't forgive everybody the same way. Some people I have more tolerance for, some people I forgive frequently, and then there's the no-fly zone. So that's a variance, wouldn't you say? And as we are talking about forgiveness, I notice why people loop is because the same cliche always happens. You don't have to forgive you have to forgive the person to set yourself free. It's not that you're forgiving that person, you're coming to peace with it. But because the cliche is the same and people are trying to forgive that other person to make things better for themselves, they more than often fail. And the reason why they fail is because they are taught that forgiveness doesn't have variances. So I ponder with a lot of things, and my mind goes deep. And the reason why my mind goes deep is because I realize that in the conscious collective, when people are stuck in a dilemma, they can't move forward. So I want to compare a few things. And I want to speak from my own perspective of how my variances stem, grow, or are in my life, because they grow. It's a stem that happens, and they grow because as you develop, you see things differently. So yes, there are people and situations that I have no forgiveness for. However, that doesn't mean it eats me up and I'm bitter about it. What it means is that I take it for what it is, and then I am able to take action if I'm standing up for a cause. So my zero tolerance, my non-forgiveness stage is in the situation of human trafficking when it concerns mostly children. For me, I can't forgive easily. But that doesn't mean that I don't have love in my heart and I don't stand up for the right thing. Because look, if you want to talk about forgiveness, then you have to be honest enough to say that some people don't want to forgive. That's one variance of how we forgive. There is no forgiveness, but there is no malice in the way you extend yourself, because you are growing, you are learning, you are understanding what to do with this, because the calmness comes when you could accept things for what they truly are and let it go and begin to move forward. There are other things that I forgive all the time when I know I shouldn't forgive, but I have a soft spot for something. But those things are not the things that are clouding my judgment, my mind. There are certain things that I put the brakes on for a while. And as I put the brakes on it, it allows me to see where I want to go with it or what people really think. So I'm by no means perfect, but I am a loving individual and I am a queen. And, Jody sent me a meme today that said, you want the crown? Come take it, bitches. You know what I mean? Something to that effect. That's true, because if you want to have the crown of your soul, you have to take it. You have to take it back. And you have to exercise it. So I stand alone in certain areas because I don't want to get into a collective argument about it. I am looking for us to have discussions so we can actually heal from it. So how do you tell someone, and these are things that have happened in passing, right? Because we encountered these situations. So if I am dealing with somebody and we are speaking about sexual misconduct and they are in the healing process and a lot of stuff happens and sometimes people never come back. You have to really understand that, trauma is a thing that affects people. It affects the human mind. It affects how we assimilate our everyday activities, and forgiveness is something that does have variances. And when you are able to read between them, you actually do more good in discussion that is open and honest than you do in hiding things. So what happens if you deal with somebody and they have been repeatedly violated? And violated is in many ways, right? And forms. It's mind violation, it's sexual violation, it's financial violation, it's confidence violation. You name it, abuses are there. And they're like, I just can't get past this, where I have to forgive that person. It's not in my heart to do it. Why would you force somebody to do something that's not in their heart? That is cause for a relapse. But if you allow people to speak And then you actually look them in the eye and say, I understand this, but now is the time that you have to make some decisions, because if you don't address this within yourself, what will happen is that you will fall victim of a continual downward spiral. And that's not something that people want to get into, because that's a raw reality and that's truth. And sometimes when you discuss this with people, they have the freedom to let it go the way they need to. So then I always come back and say, but now that you are at the space, this is the downfall that you have to look out for. If you can't come to terms with it, it will eat you up. That is a fact. Go in any psychology, conference, and when people are speaking about the human mind and what happens in certain situations, this is a fact. This is not made up stuff, right? And you allow that to eat you up, you will continuously be a basket case. So where's the variances? The variances come within what the exchange is. Whether it's losing somebody, whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's a relationship issue, it's different for people. Some people do, and I will acknowledge this, believe that we are all one and that we should forgive people because we are part of it. I'm sorry that I'm not part of that. And I will take a stand on that, because although I have been in the same situation where forgiveness is an exchange, there are just certain things that are a no-fly zone for me. So what do? Instead, we advocate it and we bring it to attention, because we could speak about it where people are actually doing something about it. But when you do understand this and you're able to let things sit with you, if you're able to let things go, if you're able to come to terms, forgiveness is a beautiful thing, because the label is dropped and the heart begins to take action, and that action allows you to understand that the variances are okay. So why are we afraid to address this? Because it's bone chilling. And anything that's bone chilling and anything that takes us out of our comfort zone is something that's very hard to address. But we live in a society where everything is coated with lies, with sugary spice, with not an understanding what it means to be a shiny one, what it means to go back to the sun, what it means to rebirth, what it means to understand the demons of self are the demons that you are quelling, and that what you become is entirely up to you. You see, everybody likes to play a role. But when we become, how do I want to say that? Entrenched in something that we are not, because that role is so confident, we lose the point. So what do you really want? And I see this time and time again. I see people in the spiritual community doing it. They're forgiving people that are cult-like. They're talking about it. They're laughing about it. They're participating in it. They're all the unforgivable acts of debauchery, right? Debauchery, because even that, it becomes a debauchery. People forgive, right? Why do you forgive? Because it's in your heart to do so, or you don't want to look at the fact, or this conversation is too chilling for you, because then you would actually have to say, I need to do something about me, and still hold space, still hold grace, still have a beauty within your own heart and soul. Are you never going to have, bouts of whoever's telling you that is a liar. Of course, you're going to always have bouts because the human condition is a living, organic experience. But we are very robotic, and we allow a lot of robotic acts to continue, right? They continue. And each and every one of you are courageous warriors. I hope you see this. And yes, we do need to put the guns in the holster and talk, not trigger. But of course, we're always going to get triggered too. I think what it is that we need to change things. It's very difficult, but it's worth it because that's right. It is authentic healing. And authentic healing comes from inside. And people don't want to, face that, because what happens is that then you have to do some soul searching. You have to understand that 3/4 of the population will not make what's coming. You cannot stop what's coming. I keep saying it over and over again, and it's not pessimistic. Be careful what you think you're going to forgive, because you're going to forgive the wrong person, and they are going to undress that sheep clothing and show you what a wolf they are. You see, the whole thing is to be prepared. And as you are being prepared, be gracious of this life, even though I know it's difficult. There are some people, including myself at one time, the cards that are dealt were not favorable. But you got to be able to turn that hand around and make a raw flush out of it. It's in the heart and it's in the soul. And, we say forgive ourselves is the first thing. But when you forgive yourself, that's a variance too. You're actually working on yourself. When we're talking about the exchange of other people, that's another variance altogether. And you should be allowed to have your moments where you do get triggered. And that's the key, Pop. Manageable. You have to learn how to manage these things. That's why we say disciplines of the mind, disciplines of the heart, disciplines of the soul. Understanding what goes on is very important. You see, I forgive all types of things, and there's some things that I will not forgive at all. So does that make me any less holy than you, or any less loving? And that's another thing that we need to discuss, because it's happening all over. People are disappointed. People are bringing things out in other people, but they are, and when I say people, I want to clarify that. I mean people that are teaching, people that are leading, but yet they still follow. I'm sorry if you're following somebody, and again, this is me. It's not you. So what you do is totally on you. If you're following somebody who is religious or holy or enlightened, or, trying to make a better way, and they are on air and they are getting people arrested and they are scaring you, and you are running and you are holding space and you are doing this to open up a portal, you are still missing what this is about. Those people, there's nothing holy about them, because if you go from the depths of hell, and if you turn it around, you will not be acting like that. I don't care how good of a card reader you are. Satan, so to speak, the terminology, is a master magician. A lot of tricks, and on the mark, 9 out of 10 times, is an angel of higher rank. Let's be real here when we are talking, so that's not impressionable. Look for the signs, but yet you all support that. And, you say we are one, and it's not about that. It's not about taking sides. It's about standing up for the right thing. Standing up for the right thing. And this all falls into forgiveness. Because, as we are forgiving others, who's going to forgive us? We're constantly looping. Constantly needy of attention. Forgiveness is not the forgiveness of others too. It's forgiveness of what's happening right here on this planet right now. And the playing field is off, guys. So it will be up to each of us to actually do something about it. Actually do something about it. And as we do something about it, we are living an everyday life. We get up, we go to work, we look to have joy in our life. We look to alleviate ourselves from the pressures of life. There's nothing wrong with that. But to truly transform, to truly spot it, to being able to say, I don't forgive that. However, it's not taking over my life, and I will deal with it as it needs to be dealt with, but I won't hurt myself. I won't allow it to keep me looping. I will understand that mourning process is something that I have to manage through a lifetime. And I'll be damned if I'm going to give 1 ounce of my energy forgiving something or someone that causes me, right, to keep thinking about the situation that happened. You see, sometimes we have to put that situation to bed because those nightmares will always occur to some people. And these are the truths of life. And these are the variances of life. So when you see somebody genuinely out there going to healing circles or, genuinely helping the people, take those people and give them a moment of salutation. Because my gripe is never about that. My unforgiveness too is for the people who are out there who are liars on camera. You see, I will sit with somebody and say, look, I'm trying my best to do what I need to do or be holy, but I've still got fucking shit that I need to clean up. Don't tell me that you're selling me the Brooklyn Bridge of New Earth. Again, I want people to articulate to me what the new earth is. Maybe I'm missing something. But I doubt that seriously because I own myself. And I could say it the way it is. And that's the most forgiving thing. Because I pondered that. And then I truly talk to people. And I'm like, okay, this is some deep stuff here. And how do we find solutions? And in those solutions, it always helps me too. There are some things that we have to checkmate because they hurt and they're unthinkable. And then there's some things, well, you know what? You were an asshole today. You said things inappropriately. Or we fought because we were stressed out. Or, that's different. But when you use these things as weapons, there's nothing holy about that. There is nothing holy about that. So my advice is that you take these things of awareness, you discuss them, but you still live life. You still laugh. You still smile. You still learn to be happy. I am incredibly happy lately. I am happy in my heart and my soul. It's nothing about wealth or abundance or anything like that because it is shaky for everybody who is an average person, and there ain't not one amongst us that has $1 billion in the bank. Let's be real. Let's be real about it. Most people are living hand to mouth. Most people are living week to week. But if you could still find joy and happiness and know that really you are taken care of and you can only strive to do better, that's a blessing in itself through this mad world. And when you take down the leaders of this world because you are the chosen ones, I'm a chosen one. I am there, not an elite. I would say, do you forgive somebody that you have to look in the eyes that cost humanity horrific mental stress, who killed humanity? Because they are the elite that look at us like we are nothing. Do you do that? Do you forgive that on a council? Because the first time you forgive those people, they'll put a dagger in your heart. And those are the things that you have to understand while you're still holding grace, holding joy. You forgive the people who killed your loved ones because the whole 3/4 of the population are vaccinated and 3/4 of the population are in confusion. They did it for so many different reasons. I have like when people tell me, what do you think about this? I say, I'm not the one. I'm not the one to ask, do you think it's going to be all right? I'm not the one. Not when it comes to the vaccination. I'm not the one. I believe in the immune system. And I see the cause and effect. And I cannot forgive those things because those things are meant to kill our kind. And that's right. And I always say that, Chastity. I always say, just because I don't forgive human trafficking or child trafficking, period, because I have that same mentality, that doesn't mean I'm any less holy. And there's a lot of people in our community that must have really hitting stuff because they try and make you feel less holy, and they're the biggest liars going. And I don't forgive that easily because, again, when the Anon elite comes, we come for a reason because we have understood and we had to survive the depths of hell because we had to understand whether we were worthy or not, because we put our kind first. Put our kind first because we are on the front lines, speaking of the things that no one could get out and speak about it because it's a difficult thing. So yeah, and then, they get it confused, like with your sacredness and, your scripted verses. This is not scripted. This is really happening. And again, any counsel that is here to help you is a counsel that's going to stand forth. I am tired of hearing that the beings are only here to observe. Our planet is falling apart, and then they are part of it. And as they are part of it, we're supposed to just like stand down. I have come a long way. Listen, I have been on air with people where I had to hold my composure, and they were trying to make an ass out of me and demean me. I could, I've been with people who I had to hold back the laughter because they were going to do a fake channel, and I can't be down with that stuff. So this is the real deal. This really does happen, and that's why I'm saying when the elites step in any form, mind, body, or soul, they're going to question. People get it confused. They think the elite is just the people with power and money. Well, those are the people that are taking us down. I'll give them that. But the elite of mind, the elite of heart, the elite that they fear is what we are discussing right here and doing it in style and grace. And hello, everybody who's joining. So this is something that we all have to take into consideration. You have to stop a lot of the stuff. And half the people that, are on air preaching about forgiveness and telling people what to do, they don't even forgive themselves, let alone if there's a little discrepancy, say, you know what, we were great friends and I'm not going to let this interfere, etc. So on. Like, there's always a cutoff switch, but I'm saying it's like it's such a lie that people can't set themselves free. Just move on. And, there are things that you just have to deal with your own way. That's why it's called defenders of freedom. This world is not free, and neither are you. Whether you took the vaccination or not is on you. It's not on anybody else, but most people took it out of fear. And when people take things out of fear or because they don't want to change their lifestyle or they can't do a few things, they'll miss out, then what does that tell you about our kind? Should we forgive everybody then? That's leading us to our death? Again, it's not about, I can't stress it enough, it's not about not being holy. What do the elite fear? The elite fear that if you step into your power and if you actually come together and you unite, that they have to take a stand down. Because what they are strongholding is that there's 0.25% of elite. There's 0.75% of the everyday person populating this earth. If you go back to your ancient history, you will understand through the text that a quarter was to be held. I'm going to say the Anunnaki, the spirit beings, the elite, right? And as that is being stronghold, 3/4 of the population inherit the earth. We're the earthlings, right? But we are actually manufactured, enslaved. Once we stand together and once there is no compliance, then they have no hold. But you see what human beings do wrong? 3/4 of the population, including every one of us at one time or another, right? We depend on them because that's how we make our money, because we're lazy, right? We became lazy. They industrialized things so we would become lazy and dependent on them. They strong-cornered the markets, and we are dazzled by influencers that not only entice us to want to live a certain kind of life, it's sexual depravement all over the place. And that's not only happening with the elite. A lot of y'all, and especially the people in the 30s, you can't have a functioning relationship. You can't do it through thick and thin because you're, I'm going to say it really raw. Your pricks and your holes are all over the place. And people get offended by that. Oh, it's sacred. It's not sacred when you're doing all that. It really isn't. You know, that's why you don't understand a relationship. Talk to the people who have a 20, 30-year relationship and been through it all. Breakups, fist fights, coming to terms with who they are, separations, going back, loyalty. Talk to those people that survived, and they will tell you that these things worth fighting for or what kept them together in a union went through many different variances. And those are the people that, I'll include that myself because I have a very long relationship on and off, you know, with my partner, because at one time I didn't like my partner. I hated him and he didn't like me either. And that doesn't mean that we broke our vows as far as divorce papers or anything like that, but we were all over the place. And then you come together and then it reunites, or is it worth it, or am I doing it over? You know, it's a difference for everybody. But the thing is that when I see people all over the place just looking for a companion. There's a lot of things that go on in relationships. So I think if we understood who we are and, you know, if we could talk honestly and openly about our own situations without having to go into every detail. I'm not that type of person. Even with the people that are around me, I don't go into every detail. You know, if I'm discussing certain things and then everybody's discussing it, oh, you knew about that, Reese? Yeah, I know about it. Well, why didn't you say anything? Because you don't have to share everything, or you don't have to, you know, you don't tell everybody everything that you encounter or you know. You know, if it comes out, it comes out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, it's called loyalty. It's called holding ground. It's called respect, right? It calls even my own kids some things they don't know about, you know, what their dad and I, you know, have discussed. And, you know, they'll say, oh, Ma, you got, it's none of their business. You know what I'm saying? It is none of their business because this is something, you know, that you have to deal with, right? It's really, and I'm going to be happy. You know, and when they say to people, leave me alone when you see me happy, leave people alone when they're happy. See, because people want you to be happy, but they really don't want you to be happy because they're not happy. So forgiveness is a variance. Don't let people confuse you. Stand up. Be warriors. Be warriors. Be goddesses. True earthling goddesses. Understand the gods and what they did. You have to understand that many will come right now to deceive. And even if they are destructive in spirituality, the truth of the matter is that they were gifted powers too. Go back and learn and do something about it because they want your children. Stand up for the children. Fight for those kids. Don't give your kids away. I see people vaccinating their kids at 5, 6 years old. Are you fucking crazy? Do you know anything about the immune system? No, they don't. Because I'm beginning to think that the people born in the 80s, right? And the 90s are very dumb. They don't know nothing. And why I say that is because, in all honesty, they really believe that they're protecting their own. They're not. I'm going to leave you all with that to think about. Share, invite, and learn that even though we discuss these things, you could still be happy and cool and hold all this space. This is what it's about. I'm for the kids, and I am not stopping. And I will challenge anyone to tell me that that's less spiritual. It's not. Stop being fucking one-sided. Stop only preaching love and then, you know what, you're only in your own bubble. Walk the real world and see what happens in your heart. Much love and respect.